Are you thinking about using video to grow your business and get more clients? Well, that's great because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm Craig Severinsen with Brightworks PR Marketing, and welcome to the Action Chat. This is where we come together every morning at 10 a.m. Central to talk about how to create a massively successful business. And whose business are we trying to grow? Yours. So make sure that you're here, that you subscribe, you comment, you like. That way you can participate and we can answer your questions. Today is a very special Action Chat because we have a guest with us today. She is the president of Solo PR Pro and the founder and president of Words for Hire. Her name is Karen Swim. Karen, welcome to the Action Chat.
Thank you so much, Craig, for having me. Good Friday morning. I'm so happy it's Friday. Yeah. I hope everybody's having a great week. I'm so excited to be here with you. I love your show, and I love all the information that you always share with your audience. I always get some great tips to help build my business. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And, I'll just say Karen and I met because of the fantastic work they're doing with Solo PR Pro. They have and maybe this is a topic for another time, Karen, but you guys have mastered the Twitter chat and getting a community really involved on Twitter. So maybe that's how I found you. So maybe there's a future conversation. But today we're going to talk about video. Before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? I know you, but not everyone else knows you. So tell us, what you do and what you're up to these days.
That's true. So I have been in communications for about 2 decades or more. And I've been running my own business, Words for Hire. I founded that about 12 years ago, actually. And I do public relations and marketing for small, large companies, Fortune 100 companies. And I work with a variety of other seasoned professionals and partnerships around the country and serve clients, mostly these days in and around the United States, but I have done international work as well. And so at the core of our business, we do strategic public relations and marketing. And to put it really succinctly, we just help businesses identify, connect, and engage with their target audiences. And we use, various methods to do that. All of our programs are customized to the client. And so we line up with their business goals and do what we need to do to help them to reach the people that they're trying to talk to.
Very cool. So I think the majority of the people that watch this show, they're typically communications professionals. So they've got a good grasp on what marketing and public relations are. But can you and I'm putting you on the spot, so don't.
Yes.
But can you kind of break down, if someone were to say, what's the difference between PR and marketing? I've got my own explanation, but what would you say?
There's such a battle about that. And it's so interesting that in my mindset, the public relations industry has kind of their own PR problem, right? We can't even agree on the definition of what PR is. And to the outside world, it seems like the lines have blurred tremendously between what's marketing and what's PR. Marketing is really the way that you communicate, and it all aligns to sales, right? And it all ties right back to the bottom line, because as a business, if what you're doing doesn't make dollars and cents, it really doesn't make sense, because without money, you have no business, right? And I know that a lot of PR pros will kill me for saying that, but it really is the truth. So with public relations, the discipline as it is traditionally done is really about connecting with the publics. And so that may have nothing to do with marketing and with sales. That function is so much bigger when you talk about the publics. Those publics could be internal publics. So it's a way that you help companies to communicate with their internal stakeholders. It could be investors. It could be the community. It could be an audience of consumers. And so that's our role, is to help companies to communicate with their publics and everything around those interests. So we're not only dealing with the media as one of those publics, but their audiences. Whereas the marketing discipline is really targeted around putting together communications and how do you put together things that talk about your brand, talk about your messaging in a way that drives sales. So marketing and sales really have a tight alignment in that your marketing efforts are driving sales, and then sales takes what marketing has done to bring those people to you to then convert them into customers. So there are some distinct lines. In my business, however, because I have had the pleasure of working in all three disciplines, sales, marketing, and public relations, I tend to blend my strategies depending on what the client's needs are. And I don't think that I'm unique in that. There are a lot of PR professionals that also do marketing. They came up on the marketing side of the house or came up on the PR side of the house and got trained in the other discipline. And so they're able to offer a different perspective on it.
Yeah, and that you just described me. I came up on the PR side and then started doing marketing, and now I use both. In my opinion, I think you nailed it on the head. In my opinion, it's like two different drawers of the same toolbox, and we arbitrarily label some tools as PR and some tools as marketing, but really they're tools that get you a result, and that is clients. So we should.
Yeah, and there's this false myth that PR is just about media relations, when in fact, there are so many public relations professionals that do no media relations whatsoever. It's not a part of their job. They don't do that for clients. It's not in their wheelhouse. And so that's sort of my pet peeve, is that there's this myth that when you say PR, it just means media outreach, when that's such a tiny part of what most of us do.
Yeah. Well, so I have to ask, having run two successful businesses, and this show and my business is all about what are the action steps we can take to grow a business. In your experience growing a business, what has been like one of the number one things that you've done to get clients? Like, what has been a really big thing for you getting clients?
Yeah. It's funny because I think you and I have talked about this in the past, but for me, it's been looking at picking an activity and doing it. I mean, that if I needed to distill it down to very simple advice that applies. So everyone's always looking for what's the best tool, what's the best channel, what's the best tactic. Pick something, because there's so many things that work. If you wanted to do, postcards to prospective clients, guess what? That can work, but you have to commit to it, do it, follow it up. And so I think, whether it's video or LinkedIn or writing a blog, all of those things work, but you have to work it. So that's what's been successful for me, is realizing that there is no magic potion. There's no magic formula. It's really about, where's the audience that I want to reach? Who do I want to reach? Okay, so what's the best way to connect with them? And then doing it, and then doing it again and again and again and again, and being consistent in those efforts.
I love that. One of the analogies I use all the time is marketing is like digging a well. You don't go out and dig a bunch of really shallow holes. You dig one hole really deep, and that's how you hit water.
I love that analogy.
Because it's the same for your marketing. You got to choose one thing. You got to focus on it.
Yes, and I think that's where we can help clients, because sometimes they're looking for what's that thing. Well, there is no that thing. There's a million things that work, and that some people will say, oh, like billboards don't work. Well, guess what? They do work for some markets. And so, you can't say there is no magic formula. It's really understanding, first of all, it all starts with the audience, right? And I think that's what PR pros and marketing pros have learned in their business as communicators. We understand how to research the audience, and we understand what's the best way to intersect with their interest.
Yeah. Well, so I think that brings us to today's topic. What is the one thing we want to talk about today? And that's video. And we chose this topic because you and I were just talking about things we were up to, and we talked about this YouTube channel. We talked about video in general, and it just seemed like such a great topic we thought other people would be interested in. So let's get down to that. Why do you think video is such an important tool nowadays?
It's so funny, because I was looking back on some statistics, and as an industry of professional communicators, we've been talking about video for probably the last 6-7 years, about how it's the next great thing, right? And how it's so underutilized. And so it's amazing to me that in 2017, we're kind of still there. We get it. And as more opportunities to utilize video have presented themselves, we're still saying that it's underutilized. I love video because I think that it accomplishes very close to what happens in that face-to-face interaction. It humanizes everything that you do. You have the opportunity to really talk to and with people rather than at them. And I think it's the difference between, like broadcast media and reading. You have a different feel. You get to see someone, you get to see the expressions. It's conversational. And for all of us, that's natural, right? I mean, the one thing that we don't have to be taught to do is how to have conversations. Even babies, when they are not yet using words, they still communicate in a back and forth with you. They coo at you, they, babble and baby talk. And so I think it's very natural for us. And so using a conversational medium is something that I think that we can all take better advantage of.
Definitely. The putting it in terms that I use a lot is the know, like, trust factor, right? Everybody's heard of that. And I think that's exactly what you're describing. When you're in a video, you get the sense that you know them, you're interacting with them, and that know, like, trust factor builds very quickly. And that's the same reason why things like networking or having a webinar or a speech are so effective, is because of that interaction. It feels so genuine. So video does that as well, and you can use it in so many different ways.
I agree. I mean, and for PR professionals, there's just so many opportunities to integrate this, not into your business building efforts, but also for your clients. It's very exciting. And I think that we really have to kind of step up and build our skills in this area and kind of get over our own hangups and fears. Because I hear a lot of people say, video, I'm shy, I can't do it. Guess what? I'm super camera shy. I'm that person that didn't even like to take pictures, but I love video. And I was really surprised by that. And because I tested it and tried it and loved it, I really began to understand and use it more with clients because I wasn't afraid of it. And now I had some personal experience that I could then deliver to them.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways, I'm sure that you've heard of creative ways to use video. Like, what are some of the ways that you've seen it used or you've used it yourself?
Yeah, so for clients, I've gotten some of my clients addicted to Facebook Live videos because Facebook Live has a big audience of people, as does YouTube. So any type of live streaming, I've invited them to use that. So we'll promote live events to the audience. And again, it's a way to connect directly with them. It's a way to take questions about your product and brand. It's a way to show behind the scenes. And again, so much better than an advertisement is someone actually talking to you one-to-one about what's going on. And I think that that's a missed opportunity. It's also a way to add to your thought leadership. So when you are talking to people about the things that you're an expert at, sharing tips and sharing information, it allows them to see what they'll be getting if they hire you. And if you're doing traditional media outreach, you can include those clips with your pitches. So then journalists see how your audience reacts to you as well, so they can see the kind of questions that you take, and they see you in real time talking about what you're pitching. So I think that we don't use that enough.
Yeah, I think about going live, and I think the first barrier that would come up would be, oh, what if I screw up? Or, I'm not very good on my feet. Live video, that makes me nervous. What would you say to somebody with that thought?
I would say that we trip up in conversations. That's the beauty for me of being live, is that I do believe that there's a place for produced and published videos. Those are still important too. They have a role in our building business arsenal. Whether we're building our own business as communicators, those definitely have a place, or for clients. But the beauty of being live is that there isn't any polish. People are really seeing you. Now, I will admit there are a couple of tips that you can do, and I did this in the beginning. Now I don't, because I'm less self-conscious. But when I first started doing live videos, I would take my smartphone camera and I would video myself and just talk. And I would practice, and then I would play it back and see, the things that I was doing wrong, where could I improve? So you can practice before you go live. I think it also helps to have talking points. So I do this for my clients. I bullet point, the key points that they should hit. And sometimes I'll write out a full-blown script for them, depending on the client and how comfortable they are. So those are all the traditional things that you do in media training, you can still apply to live. But I think the beauty of it is that it's live. And people feel like, okay, this is not, some superficial sales pitch. This is real. They're talking. Anything can happen. Kids can walk into the room. Your dog can start barking. The mailman can show up. You could trip over a word and it's okay. You're not going to die from it, I promise. In fact, I think it endears you more to your audience.
You're hitting on my number one fear. I work from home and I'm just scared to death of a BBC dad moment. My kids in the background. But I love what you're saying, and I can attest to what you're talking about. I started doing YouTube live videos. It's been about a month and a half now, every morning. And
Wow.
In the beginning, I tried to do something. One of the things I told myself is I didn't want to edit them. I wanted it to feel very real. I wanted it to be a conversation. And I learned very early on, when I try to do some fancy things that I didn't practice, that it's important to do a dry run when you're going to do something fancy. So
like today we had technology issues, right?
So I think doing a dry run is a great idea. I don't even record it. I just go through the motions of what I'm going to do when I'm going to do something different. And then the other thing is what you're saying, what I heard you say and what I can attest to is mistakes are actually endearing. They humanize you. At least that's what I'm banking on. I think that's true.
Yeah, we get enough of people in perfection, right? We've all heard it. And I think that when we see perfection, we tend to think, not real. But when we see people mess up and it happens to broadcasters on air. Have you not ever, been watching the TV news and one of the journalists coughed on air or said the wrong word? Stuff happens. And in those moments, they suddenly become a person to you. You're like, oh, wow. And, you sympathize if it's something that's a little bit embarrassing. And if it's funny, you laugh with them and it makes you feel closer to them in a way. And I know that sounds weird, but I know that that's been my reaction when I see something happen. You're like, oh, no, I can totally relate to that. And then it makes you feel like they're just like you. And you have a different level of comfort with them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay, so let's say somebody's sold, they want to do video. What would you say to them to get started? Like, what are the tips for someone who wants to dive in?
I would say don't get too fancy. It can be overwhelming. I have attended some seminars and gotten some tips, and I have a million apps installed on my computer and my phone, half of them which I never use. So don't try to take on too much at first. First, I would say figure out what's your objective with video. Is your objective to build audience awareness? Are you attempting to educate people about the services that you offer? Are you attempting to use it for thought leadership? So get really, really clear on your agenda. Start there. And then, of course, understand your audience. What does your audience respond to? What do they want to hear? All of those decisions then can help narrow down where you focus. So once you understand your objectives, you know your audience, now you have a better idea of, okay, what channel should I use? Because that's big today too, right? There's a million places to do video. There's YouTube, there's Vimeo, there's, Facebook, there's Periscope. You can just, it goes on and on and on, right? And so knowing what you want to achieve, who your audience is, then you can say, okay, this is the best place to focus. And then you can make the decision whether that's live or if it's recorded, because I still think, recording is fine too. We tune into YouTube, we Google something and we want to know how to do something, or we want information on a topic, and great, there's a video. That's so helpful. And so make those decisions and then keep it simple. Like I applaud you for doing a daily show. Oh my God, talk about a man that's, walking the talk. That's commitment. But if that doesn't feel comfortable to you, commit to doing it once a month. And then, increase as you grow more comfortable with it. And so I would say, don't worry about fancy editing, fancy tools, I need to go out and buy, a microphone and a different camera. As you start to do it and build up, you can add technical expertise to it. If you find, okay, you know what, this is working, I love it. Now I want to sort of up my game a little bit.
Yeah, I love that advice. And again, I'm gonna attest to what you're talking about, because YouTube is not my main marketing channel. It's something I've been starting, and I'm taking your advice right step for step is that it's fast, focus, and perfect action. That's what I preach. And the results have been great. And I think the one thing I would say to somebody who's thinking about doing video and they're like, oh, it takes time to build up. Well, I only have 16 subscribers, but I have seen a huge impact in my business and in my sales from these videos. So there's people watching even when they don't subscribe. And the impact of, I did a webinar with you and I was able to say, okay, here's some questions people ask, and here's videos on my channel. You can go where I explain more about it. And it's just this way to bring people into your world and build that know, like, and trust factor very, very quickly. You got
clients. So I think that what people can take away from this is don't focus on the numbers. Really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter on any channel how many followers you have. What's really important is reaching the people that the information matters most to, right? You could have 25 Twitter followers, but gosh, you know what? If 25 people are following you, somebody sees a tweet, connects with you, and they become a client. Does it matter that you only have the small number? No. Ultimately, it really doesn't. And so I think that you're right. It's like we tend to look at this and then we think that we're a failure. Oh, no one's reading my blog. No one's reading my post. Be consistent. Focus on delivering information that your audience wants to receive, and trust that you're building momentum as you continue to put great content out into the world. And then you have to promote it. You have to tell people what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think you're hitting something on the head too, is it's every marketing tactic is a process. And one of the things that we tend to do as humans is we tend to look at people's finished product and compare it to our work in progress, right? And so saying I only have 16 followers or 16 subscribers or 25 followers or whatever it is, and being like, man, those people have 100,000 followers. Well, they've been doing it for 3 years. Yeah. So keep going for 3 years and let's see where you're at, because it's going to get there. Yes.
And in the meantime, you're getting business.
Yeah.
To share, I'm not sure of all the numbers, but I know for a fact that, we did a webinar and we didn't do this big splashy, big budget marketing campaign to promote the word. It was pretty grassroots, right? In a very short period of time. I have spoken with people who not only gained so much valuable information, but that have become clients of yours. That's fantastic. Isn't that what we all want? If you do a video, someone sees it and they connect with you, is that not enough encouragement to keep going and to keep doing it? It's worthwhile, because you don't need to connect with 1 million people. I don't think any of us can handle 1 million customers. We're service businesses. So gosh, you don't need 1 million people watching. You just need the right people watching.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the difference between measuring the correct performance indicators, the correct things, versus watching the vanity metrics, right? Like the followers and the likes, those are vanity metrics, and they're nice and they make you feel good. But really, at the end of the day, don't you want to know how many clients did you get?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely would prefer clients over the quantity of people. And I think all of us would when we really stop and think about it. But you're right. And we as an industry have tended to focus on those vanity metrics, not only for ourselves, but for clients. It's the wrong measurement. It's nice, like you said, it makes us feel good, but it really is the wrong measurement, because how does that really tie to your bottom line? It doesn't. It doesn't show you any return on your investment at all.
Awesome. So I actually have been taking notes, and I think there's 6 takeaways.
Okay.
Highlight here. You ready? So the first one that you said was keep it simple. So if you're considering doing video, keep it simple. And I would put that in my language of fast, focus, imperfect action. Just go do it on the most basic level you can. Yeah. And that leads to point number 2 is remember that it's a process. So even if you start at that most basic level, you're going to improve as you go. 3, make sure you have a goal and that you're focusing on the results. 4, keep your audience in mind so that you're talking to what they want.
Yes.
5, consistency. And 6, improvement over time. So make sure that you're constantly trying to get better.
Yes, I love it.
6
and I think the 7th bonus one, just do it. Don't overthink it. communicators can get so in their head, and they are so worried about, you're doing this plan and don't overthink it, just do it. It really will be okay.
I think that's probably the most important tip. So glad we got the bonus tip. Well, Karen, really enjoyed having you here. How can people find more about you, about your business, about solo PR? Tell us all the contact information.
You can find me on social media everywhere: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, as Karen Swim, and that's Karen with a K, and it's swim like swimming in a pool. And that really is my last name. I promise I'm not being cute. I'm actually a runner, not a swimmer, although I do love the pool. So Karen Swim. And for Solo PR Pro, would love for you to look us up there. That's soloprpro.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Guys,
you.
Go get some video and go take some fast focus imperfect action. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.